The housing market is absolute fire right now. Newsflash, right? Housing market gains in San Diego and pretty much the entire country finished up for the most part up or around 10% for 2020. And that's going to be in most of the major markets. That is insane, especially considering we are in the middle, or that took place in the middle of one of the worst, if not the worst, worldwide pandemic we have ever seen in our entire lifetimes. So this thing has to come back down, right? Well, I can tell you that without a doubt. All right, what is up, everyone? I'm your man, Wesley Guest, and like I said, today we're going to talk about the incredible housing market and the gains right now we're experiencing in San Diego, and if we're actually in a major housing bubble that is about to burst. Specifically, I'm going to be referencing San Diego, but the statistics and the fundamentals and everything that we're going to talk about will pretty much apply to just about every major city throughout the country. The major ones, at least. So when we talk about real estate bubbles, we usually start with comparisons to 2008, which was absolutely brutal for most homeowners. First, there was the foreclosures, then came the short sales. It was a very difficult time to be a homeowner, especially if you fell into financial difficulty or difficult circumstances. So that was coming off massive gains in the previous years. Housing in 2003, 4, and 5, it literally looked like it was never going to come back down, and boom, then it did. Now I want to get into 3 different reasons why 2021 is nothing like that real estate bubble. So reason number 1 that I want to talk about is going to be the supply of homes available for buyers to buy. If you're a home buyer right now, you know what I mean. You probably had to put in bids on multiple homes, fought like heck in multiple bidding wars, and hopefully you ultimately prevailed. If not, and you're in the middle of it, you will just stay persistent. It will happen, I promise. So here's the deal. In real estate, supply and demand is usually measured in months or month supply of inventory, which is based on the number of current homes for sale compared to the number of buyers in the market. I've talked about this in previous videos, so this may not be new to you. I usually look at this in segments. Seller's market usually falls somewhere into that 1 to 3 month range. Maybe 4 if you want to push it. Normal month supply of inventory for the market is about 4 to 6 months. Mid-5s is actually what most people would consider a balanced market. Anything above that is going to be a buyer's market. So indicating prices will usually start to soften when that happens. So anything inside, let's say like 1 to 4, the 1 to 4 month range is usually a seller's market in which prices normally appreciate. In San Diego and some other parts of the country and other major markets, the month supply of inventory of homes for sale has been low for years. Usually somewhere near 2 to 3 months is usually what I see. Ready for this? Currently, we're sitting at just over 1.1 months of inventory. Another significant drop, and we could reach 0 homes for sale. That's absolutely mind-blowing to me. Seller's market is an understatement at this point. Price increases are inevitable. So if you compare this to 2006 and 2008, when the month supply of inventory increased from just over 5 months to 11 months, the month supply was actually over 7 months in 27 of those 36 months, yet those home values continued to increase or rise. Very strange times. The writing was all over the wall for that crash. So just remember, if supply is low and demand is high, prices naturally will increase. Supply right now is incredibly low, about as low as we have ever seen. My reason number 2 is coming right up, but I wanted to real quickly mention, if this is your first time to my YouTube channel and you want to learn everything and see exactly what it's like to live in San Diego, then please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. And while you're there, if you could smash that like button for me, I'd greatly appreciate it. It helps me out a ton. All right, let's get back to it. Reason number 2 that I want to talk about is going to have to do with something referred to, what's a term I recently came across. Kind of knew this was out there, but I saw a term for it finally. So I think it's perfect. Irrational exuberance, which is unfounded market optimism that lacks a real foundation on fundamental valuation, but instead rests on psychological factors. Basically, people in the early 2000s got super caught up in this frenzy, bought houses based on unrealistic beliefs that housing values would continue to escalate. A perfect example of irrational exuberance. Monkey see, monkey do kind of stuff. It got worse. The lenders bought into the notion as well. Borrowing money pretty much became as easy as breathing and just having a pulse. Anyone can pretty much borrow money. I mean, anyone. Did you see The Big Short by any chance with Christian Bale? They did a great job of capturing this. So compare that today where money is not so easy to borrow. What I mean specifically is borrowers are qualified today. They have to be, or you don't get that mortgage loan approval. If you've been through a mortgage loan approval recently in the last year or two, let's say, in the process, you know what I mean. Lenders learned valuable lessons 10 years ago. They leave no stone unturned when assessing your ability to borrow or to repay your loan. In addition, the majority of today's buyers are actually living in the home that they're purchasing. There are investors out there, but not nearly as much. With previous years, we saw a lot more investor action happening, not so much right now. This is not fabricated demand. These are homeowners taking advantage of the lowest mortgage rates we have ever seen in our entire lives. They're buying a home and living in it with the families. That is very different than the typical buyer and intent in 2008. So these buyers are real, the housing supply is low, the demand is high, prices are naturally increasing. Reason number 3 is going to be important here. So you got to understand that we're at a point right now, basically, when people have more equity in their homes than we've pretty much ever seen before. This is a crazy stat I just saw. So according to the Census Bureau, ready for this? Over 38% of home or owner-occupied housing or houses are owned free and clear. That means they have no mortgage payment. It's theirs. They have no lender to pay, nothing like that. 38%. Combine that with the additional 18.7% of all homes that have at least 50% equity or more. I think it was actually closer to 52%. That's significantly better than the equity situation in 2008. 2008 was abysmal. When people treated their homes like ATM machines, equity lines were rampant, equity lines of credit were everywhere, people were fixing up the yard, buying boats, the motorhome, investing in other properties, which probably wasn't the best idea at the time. They just did not have any equity in those. When home prices eventually crashed, people had negative equity at that point. Then we saw the massive foreclosure run that most of us are familiar with or think of when we talk about 2008. Here's the bottom line. As far as any real estate bubble talk for 2021, our housing supply is at an absolute historic low in San Diego and pretty much anywhere else at the time of this video recording in the country. Demand is real and highly motivated. If there were to be a drop in prices, right now, homeowners have enough equity to be able to weather the dip in their home values. This is nothing like 2008. In fact, it's the exact opposite. If you're waiting for the bubble to burst, it's probably not going to happen anytime soon. That being said, could it happen in 2021? Absolutely. I don't have a crystal ball. Do I think it's going to happen in 2021? Probably not. All right, so thank you so much for watching and sticking with me until the end of the video here. I love making videos just like this, but I also love helping amazing people like yourself get into the real estate game. If you're thinking about moving to, from, or inside of San Diego, hit me up anytime. I am always happy to help. Thank you for watching or listening if you're on the podcast, and check back soon. I publish at least one video per week, usually more, and I will see you on the next one.